Hey cruise family, it's Co with Branch Family Adventures. Let's get into the cruise check-in process. This is your clearest sign yet that your cruise is almost here. You're going to check in about 2 weeks before your sail date, a little sooner for those who have extra perks like suite guest or diamond level cruisers. This is done in your cruise manager, the check-in process. There are about 9 sections from beginning to end of the check-in process, and we're going to roll through all of them. Again, check-in opens about 14 days prior to your boarding day, sooner for guests who have special perks like suite or platinum or diamond. Carnival recommends using a desktop computer to do your check-in. It's not that it won't work on a mobile phone, it's just optimized for desktop usage, or maybe even an iPad where you can request the desktop site, or a laptop. Doesn't matter. Just try not to do it on your cell phone if you can help it. It'll be easier if you do it the way that it's optimized to do. Okay, up first is guest select. This is just choosing who you're checking in, whose information you're going to be putting in at that time. This is what the screen will look like when you go to select your guest. I've blocked that off, but you can see it says select guest. There's a box where you can check all, so you can check everyone in at once versus doing it all individually. And do you accept use of Smile and Go technology as part of your cruise experience? That is, I guess, just a warning that they do now, but it'll come up later with more detail at the end of check-in. Next up is your guest information. This is general information, date of birth, emails, phone numbers, any medical conditions, things of that nature. Next up is your travel documents. This is where you tell Carnival what documents you're going to use to check in when you actually arrive at the terminal. Are you using a passport? Are you using a birth certificate? What documents are you using? I advise the second you book your cruise to go look at what documents are required for that particular sailing. That way you don't have to worry about at the last minute realizing that, oh, this particular sailing actually requires that I have a passport in order for me to get off this actual ship at the port. Or this particular sailing needs X, Y, and Z. Carnival will tell you. You can also call, but I prefer to go to carnival.com because what's written is what's law, not what Susan told you at customer service, not what you heard at Branch Family Adventures. What's written is law. So when it comes down to my travel documents, I would go directly to the source, carnival.com, and we will link that down below. Just as a quick note, Carnival recommends that you travel with a US passport. This is not the only form of travel documentation that they will accept, but it is their preferred form of documentation. And also, to add to that note, did you know that there was another option to buying an expensive passport book? It's called the passport card, and it basically serves the same purpose, with the exception of the passport card cannot be used for air travel. The passport card is for travel by land and sea from Canada, Mexico, the Bermuda, and the Caribbean countries. The passport card is $50 for kids or $65 for adults. And that's in comparison to $165 per kid or $130 as an adult. To put it simple, it's like the passport of the sea. And it serves the same purpose. It's just used for travel by land and sea. I want to reiterate that. Do not try and board an international flight with a passport card. You will promptly be turned away. Make sure you don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our upcoming video going into great detail about the passport cards. Me and O already have passport books, but the kiddos did not. And so we go through the whole process with you guys from beginning to end of getting them their very own passport cards. All right, the next section is your travel plans. Here's where Carnival is going to ask where you're going to be parked. Are you flying to and from the cruise? And if you are flying, they want your flight information. Of course, we always recommend getting in a day early. It's just a safe bet. Now, We say that a lot, but for some people, getting in a day early is just not feasible for them. So, the next best thing you can do is get some form of vacation protection or travel insurance because flights are sketchy right about now. I do not trust them at all. They will have you laid over in another place for 3 days while your ship is sailing right by you. So make sure that you have some form of travel protection or travel insurance if you are going to be flying in or arriving to your port, however, your methodology is getting there, arriving the day of, with the exception of if you live like right there at the port city or near the port city. That's a little different. All right, this is one of my favorite parts of check in, and that is getting your arrival appointment. Choosing the time that you want to arrive at the terminal and check in for your cruise. It's for us, we always choose the first available that we see, which is typically around 10:30 a.m. This is the time that says you can just walk right into the door and actually go through your process of checking in. If you choose a check-in time of 2 o'clock in the afternoon and then you arrive at 10 a.m., you need to prepare to be turned away. Depending on how things are going, they may just say, come on, or they're going to be like, nope, it's not your time. Go sit down, and then you'll be waiting there for hours. So we always choose an early time. Also, we like to get on the ship early. I like to relinquish my children to Carnival as soon as I can. Again, that's a joke. Just as another quick tip, if you know that you want to board the ship as early as possible and you want one of those first available check in slots, you need to stay up until midnight for check in. On your check in day, stay up until midnight. Now, don't be confused by it. If your check in day is on Tuesday, the 21st, then on Monday night, the 20th, you're going to stay up until the clock strikes midnight. Then you're going to check in. Don't check in a day later by mistake. I'm not going to say anybody did that, but it's just a friendly warning. Stay up until midnight. Check in if you want an early morning. All right, let's get into these onboard expenses. Carnival Cruise is a cashless ship. Everything you do is going to be done on your sign and sale card. All guests have to be added to an expense account for their onboard services and their purchases. Again, it's a cashless ship. And so you're going to attach a card to your account, and then that card and account is going to be attached to what's called your sign and sale card. Your sign and sale card is your all in one. It's your identification on board, it's your room key, and it's your credit card. A few quick notes. All guests in the cabin have to be added to an expense account for onboard services and purchases. You can have cash added to the account, but you'll need to deposit that cash at the cruise terminal before you board the ship. In other words, they're going to get their money. You're not going to get on that ship with a negative $12 balance in your account and just charge up a storm. Nope, not going to happen. Now, we have always used a card at check in, so our knowledge here on how the whole deposit cash thing is very, very limited. This is just per Carnival. It says that you can have a cash account, but you will need to deposit that cash at the cruise terminal before you board. The other thing that you can do in this section is set spending limits for anyone who is assigned to your card. I suggest doing this for your kids. Otherwise, when your kid is in Circle C and everybody's just like, let's go to the arcade, they're going to waltz over there to that arcade. And if you don't have a spending limit set or a sufficient amount of fear instilled in your child, you're looking at a huge bill. And Carnival is taking that money, okay? They're not going to say, oh, it was a misunderstanding. Your kid had all the fun and you didn't know it. We're going to refund you the money. That's not going to happen. So set a spending limit or a sufficient amount of fear in your child so that you don't get surprised when you get that final sign and sale bill, which you can also see in the Carnival Hub app. You can keep tabs on everything that you're spending as you're spending it live. in the Carnival Hub app. But this little setup, it almost feels it feels like a trap. Circle C is where your age limit of kids is right in that cusp of making terrible decisions and peer pressure. And then the arcade is just right there, and they're literally walking around with your debit card on a cute little lanyard wrapped around their necks. All right, this is a warning, and I am going to read it verbatim from Carnival's website. On the morning of sailing, the credit or debit card provided will be charged with an initial hold of $100 for cruises 5 days or less, or $200 for cruises 6 days or more. Throughout the cruise, incremental holds will be obtained as needed and applied by your card's issuing bank. Be prepared for that. Some of those holds can get real serious. Like they can get intense, especially if you're spending a lot and you're in the casino, things like that. Those holds can get a little intense because they're going to preemptively put a hold. You may not have spent that amount, but they're going to hold that amount. So just be prepared for that possibility. All right, y'all, we're almost there. Now we get to our cruise preferences. This section is pretty simple. How do you want the bed set up? Do you want the two twin beds converted into a king? Do you want them to be separated as a twin? So on and so forth. Or not even a so on and so forth. That's basically it. That's the question. How do you want your bed set up? And they may Nope. If you haven't selected your dining time, it may come up right here in this section, but I believe the dining time is already set for you before you get to this point. We usually choose that when we're booking. Now, youth registration. This is the longest part of check-in. It's not lengthy, but it's the longest part of the check-in process. I advise you don't skip it. It gives you the option to skip it and do it on board, but boarding day is insane line. Now you still have to do, I guess, like a little mini registration when you get there, but all of this information that they're asking you, you can not be asked it again when you arrive. So they're going to ask you about allergies and if the kid can check out by themselves or if they need someone to check them out. All types of information that you can avoid dealing with once you're on board if you do it now. Remember when you see this icon that you can always pause to read because the video is going to keep playing, but you can pause it, especially for the next couple of slides that are coming up. These are screen grabs of the process. You can pause to read it or just know that these sections are going to come up when you go to check in. It's nothing that you need to know ahead of time. It's just informative. So I'm just going to let it play out. Quick note, kids who are under the age of 12, when they go to their muster station on boarding day, are going to get a wristband with their muster station printed in bold letters. They are required to wear that the entire sailing, even when you're going out for the port, coming back, with you, without you, it doesn't matter. They're required to wear it. If anything happens to it, you can go to guest services and they will give you another one. So if you got a Bengal baby, just like we do with an arm full of bracelets, just go ahead and give them that warning now that their bracelet vibe is going to be a little hindered by this green band. Or I'm not sure if it's green on every sailing. For the most part, every ship we've been on, it's been green, but it could be different colors. Either way, it doesn't vibe with your bangles. All right, y'all, home stretch, the cruise ticket contract. This is the terms and conditions, and then you're almost done. Your cruise ticket contract is chock full of things that you agree to travel on a Carnival cruise. It is literally the terms and conditions. I am not going to lie to you and tell you that I have read this thing from beginning to end because I have not. I just know that if I want to go on a cruise, I have to agree to these terms and conditions. And so, for all I know, I may have signed over Alyssa's firstborn. I'm not sure. If you want to go through the process where you read all of this information, I think you should. And if you do, tag us below or comment below what it says. Like, do we owe them our cat? Do we owe them Alyssa at the end of the sailing? Because we wouldn't know. We just click OK and agree. This is the Smile and Go technology also that we talked about. Basically, just using facial recognition. It's telling you what it's about and telling you that you're going to agree to it if you're going to take a Carnival cruise. And once you get through this and you accept the cruise contract, the code of conduct, and the guest screening policy. You check it off to accept for everyone in your party. And y'all, that's it. Y'all are done. Let the 2-week countdown begin. You can print your boarding passes and your luggage tags. I always print extra luggage tags just to have them, and an extra set of boarding passes just to have them. Also, we have a whole process that we go through 2 weeks before our cruise. Once we get to check-in time, the countdown begins, the excitement is building. Check out our video coming up soon for pre-cruise fun and countdown to boarding day. All right, see y'all soon. Bye.